Okay, well, welcome. I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to talk to you all today. Most leaders, most people who have leadership roles aren't the people we normally think of when we think of leaders. So when we think of leaders, we think of FTSE 100 CEOs, or we think of generals, or we think of dot-com billionaires. And with apologies to the politicians in the room, maybe we used to think of politicians, but in the UK at the moment, you tend not to think of politicians when you think of leadership. But in reality, most people in leadership positions aren't those people. Because by my definition of leadership at least, anybody that has people they're responsible for is a leader. For me, leadership is the activity concerned with the navigation of a group of people from a defined start point to, in the present, to a different and clearly defined state that exists in the future. So I've drawn a really complicated diagram to show you what I mean by this. Okay. The first thing you have to do if you're a leader is you have to understand where you are today. My premise is actually that isn't a very difficult question to answer. The second question you've got to ask is where do you want to be? And this is where people make money. So this is visions, values, purposes, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not arguing that those things aren't important. I am arguing that the answers to those questions aren't that difficult to find. This is leadership. Leadership is how you get between those 2 points. And the getting between those 2 points is the really difficult bit. I mean, for me, that is what a leader does. A leader creates action. And I did a degree in engineering, so I've written a very non-scientific equation to define how you go about getting stuff done. But I think what leaders want to do is they want to create impact. And I think impact is made up of what I've slightly dismissively called business school stuff, and it's not dismissive, but that is all the things we normally talk about when we talk about leadership. That is our purpose, our direction, our objectives, our strategies, all the things that are good and important things, we have to do them. That's that. But we have to multiply them by action. And the real reason that I've written the equation is because of this. Is because you can be as right and as clever and as insightful and as transformative as you like in terms of your thinking. But if you never actually turn it into action, you achieve nothing. A key challenge leaders have is around decision making. There's a great quote here, so this isn't my quote, this is Colin Powell. And he says, don't take action if you have only enough information to give you a less than 40% chance of being right. But if you've waited till you're more than 70% certain, then you've waited too long. And so really what he's saying is you need to live as a leader in this sort of zone of ambiguity. So that takes me to a broader point about culture. And this is my definition of what that is. Culture is the environment the leader creates to enable their teams to outperform. And there's a lot of cynicism around the word culture, because these days everybody talks about culture, right? Every website you go to for any kind of organization, they talk about the cultures, and people say we've got a great culture because we do Pilates at lunchtime when we have free fruit. And that isn't anything at all really to do with culture in my mind. We've been sort of taught to believe that culture is this soft, squishy thing about being nice to people. And culture's nothing to do with that. Culture's a really hard, concrete, tangible thing that is the defining characteristic and the defining experience most people have when they go into your organization. My one sentence summary is that I think leadership is difficult but not complicated, and anybody that tries to start to make it sound complicated, call bullshit.